It's time for the Las Vegas Sportsline. Brought to you by the Westgate Las Vegas, home of the world's largest race and sportsbook and the Super Contest.
Money won is twice as sweet as money earned.
Presented by WagerTalk.com.
And here we go. It's the Tuesday edition of the Las Vegas Sportsline. Happy to have you with us. Marco DAngelo is here with me, Dave Cokin. Ari Platinum is producing the show, and it's our Superbook USA Tuesday. Jeff Sherman joining us live from the Westgate. A lot of stuff to go through with Jeff. Before we get into anything, I kind of like this. Joe Flacco is now a member of the Denver Broncos. The Broncos, of course, used a draft choice to select Drew Lock. Not to be confused with Andrew Luck. Drew Lock out of Missouri. And I guess the question got posed to Flacco as to whether he's going to mentor Drew Lock. And I loved his response. I'm paraphrasing what he said, Marco, but it's like, that's not my job, okay? It's not like he's going to work against him. But Flacco says, it's my job to go out and try and have the best football season I ever had. I like the comment. Don't start with this phony team stuff, okay? Flacco wants to play every game. He could care less about Drew Lock or Lock. And as for Drew Lock, I don't know. We'll see what happens down the road, but I think they've drafted Paxton Lynch 2.0 here.
Yeah, and I just got two words as far as Joe Flacco's statement. Can you say Lamar Jackson? Okay, he's already gone through it. Yeah. He wasn't going to do it there. He's not going to move to a new team and sign on. And he's got no history with Denver. At least, if he wanted to build on his legacy at Baltimore and try, to mentor the young guy that's going to take over for him, okay, maybe I'll buy that. But you're not going to go to a new team first year and be the guy that's going to groom him to replace you. No, sorry. It ain't happening.
I mean, it makes no sense. So good for Flacco. I'm glad he was honest. And not that it changes my opinion of the Broncos. I still think they're kind of an ordinary football team. It's not like I'm going to race to the
But this is the best quarterback they've had in a while.
Yeah. If it can stay on the field.
Right.
I'll go along with that. The ball will travel in that thin air, too. And he can throw the deep ball. So you could see some 65-yard bombs in Denver this season for Joe Flacco. Anyway, a little bit of fun with that. Look, we got a lot of stuff lined up today as far as games tonight, events coming up this week with the PGA Championship. And we'll find out about a big bet made on a certain popular golfer today at the Superbook. So we're going to get right into our stuff, and that means we will start things off right away with the Tuesday edition of the MJ Christensen Diamonds 4 at 4.
1, 2, bring it to the four.
Put them fours up. Put the fours up, I said. Do it right now.
Tonight's action is just around the bend, and the guys want to get your night off to a great start.
4.
It's the Las Vegas Sports Lines 4 at 4.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4.
And note we will save the Blazers-Warriors Game 1 for the WagerTalk Marquee matchup later in the show. We'll begin with some baseball, and one game, by the way, is almost in the books. They're in the top of the ninth. The Indians have gone deep 5 times today, including 2 by Jordan Luplow. Second time in a week he's gone deep twice against the White Sox. They ought to trade for him. Indians running away with that game 9-0. Tonight, the Brewers will face the Phillies. And an under-the-radar, sneaky good pitching matchup here with Brandon Woodruff on the mound for Milwaukee. He's been in good form. And so is Jared Eichhoff, who was a big flop in 2018 and ended up back in the minor leagues after being projected to be one of the guys in the Phillies rotation. He's found his stuff in 2019, and Eichhoff, since coming back up to the majors, Marco, he's been really good.
Really good's an understatement, Dave. Just 1 run in his last 3 starts. That's 20 innings of work. The only thing I don't like, his strikeout-to-walk ratio, 17-7. I want to cut down the walks a little bit. But you talk about Brandon Woodruff. Here's a guy that if you look at the season numbers and the advanced metrics, guys aren't real thrilled with him. But you look at the last 3 starts, you are real thrilled with him. He's pitched very well in his last 3. He's got a strikeout-to-walk ratio in his last 3 starts of 22-3, Dave. I look at him tonight. I like Milwaukee. They've done well against right-handers going back to last season, 91-62. Philadelphia offense clicking right now. 7 of the last 9 games, they've scored 5 runs or more. They did it again last night. But I'll tell you what, I look to see a good pitching matchup, and I'm going to actually go to the under here. And Milwaukee this season went on the road, Dave, as a plus 125 to minus 125. They're 10-1 to the under. I'm going to look at the under for a good pitching matchup tonight.
The Brewers have called up one of their young studs. Kenton Weira will make his major league debut tonight. He is generally regarded as one of the best prospects in baseball. Travis Shaw going on the injured list and hasn't been hitting anyway. And a chance for the rookie to perhaps steal his job. So we'll see how that plays out tonight. Mentioned the 2 pitchers involved. They're good ones. Runs could be tough to come by in this game. I think I lean to the Brewers in this matchup. I like it when a new guy comes up with a lot of hype. And I think he's an upgrade, to be honest with you, because Shaw's been, I'm not suggesting he's a better player already than Travis Shaw, but Travis Shaw just isn't swinging the bat this year. So that could be a plus as well for the Brewers. Phillies won last night. I think the Brewers even up the series with a win tonight. The Cardinals will take on the Braves. Jack Flaherty suffering a bit of a sophomore jinx, mostly due to his ineptitude on the road. He has not pitched well away from home. The Cardinals are not playing good baseball right now. They've lost 9 of their last 11 games and have fallen behind a little bit in the NL Central. But it hasn't been all glory for the Braves lately either. And Mike Foltynewicz has really struggled since coming off the injured list. He's had 3 starts, none of which have been positive. Folty is an interesting guy. I mean, at times his stuff is really dominating. But he's one of those max effort guys. And I commented doing the WagerTalk first pitch podcast this morning. Sometimes he falls so far off the mound you think he's going to end up in the first base dugout. To me, that's an indication that his mechanics can get out of whack. And I think that's been happening with him. He just has not been throwing his pitches where he wants. Even though Flaherty has been spotty on the road, and even though the Cardinals are not playing good baseball right now, I think this might be a favorable matchup. I'm going to have to see Foltynewicz do something positive before I would tend to look against Atlanta in spots like this.
Yeah, I'm going to look at St. Louis in this one, Dave. I look at, and you talk about Flaherty and his troubles on the road. Here's the problem when you're early in the season and somebody's got a big number on the road with their stats. It all was one game. He had one really bad game where he only went 2 2/3, gave up 5 runs, and it's inflating his numbers till they even out. His last outing was a good one, though, and I look for him to build off of that one. He went into the 6th inning, allowed 3 runs, but what I like is he struck out 9. The strikeouts really jumped up on him, so I'm going to look to him. And you talk about Foltynewicz. He has just been horrible so far in his walk-to-strikeout ratio, 10-5. You know, only 2-1 there with the strikeouts to the walks. That's been a problem for him when he has control issues. St. Louis, this last 3 seasons, they're 24-10 after losing 3 or more consecutive games. This is a team that doesn't go on those long losing streaks. They've lost 3 in a row. Look for them to stop that streak tonight. And here's one on Foltynewicz. When he, in his career so far, when he pitches at home and he's working on normal rest 5 or 6 days, only 3-13 at home are the Braves. I'm going to go ahead and take a shot with St. Louis and a struggling team, Dave. How many times have we said the best thing for a team that's not playing well, head out on the road?
Tonight, the Angels and Twins will play the second game of their series at Target Field. I had a loser on this game last night. I took the Twins. They led 2-0 early on a home run by Polanco. And the Twins going into last night's game were 20-4 when scoring first. They were also 11-2 off a loss. But well, those numbers took a dip last night as the Angels get the 5-4 win. All the runs were scored against the starting pitchers last night. Both bullpens were very sharp. The Twins, unfortunately for me, 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position. They left some guys on base in critical opportunities last night. But the flip side of it is the Angels also had some opportunities to put up big numbers early against Jose Barrios and didn't do so. Barrios did not pitch well last night. It was clearly his worst effort of the year. A little spanking to Rocco Baldelli here. After the Twins tied it at 4-4 after 5, I commented on Twitter. I did not think that Barrios should be going out for the 6th inning. He just didn't have good stuff, and you've got the game 4-4. Go to the bullpen. Let him pitch the 6th. He gave up a home run to La Stella, and that was the end of the scoring. So maybe a rookie mistake in the dugout by Rocco Baldelli. Tonight, the Angels will send Well, they will be going the opener route tonight.
Bedosian.
With Bedosian starting and then Felix Pena. And the Twins will counter with Kyle Gibson. One note here, by the way. I'm not suggesting you completely throw out the Angel numbers from earlier in the season, but this is a different lineup with Shohei Ohtani. And he's starting to find his time. He hit an opposite field home run last night, just bombed it. There was no doubt about it. He does change that lineup. It gives him Trout and others some protection. The Twins, I think, will tempt a lot of people tonight. I'm not so sure. I didn't play the game, but I don't like taking teams off a game where they went 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position. Sometimes that's the harbinger of a little bit of a slump, and I stayed out of this game.
Yeah, I'm not involved in the game, but I do lean to Minnesota if I was going to play the game. Kyle Gibson threw a gem in his last out, and he went 6 innings, allowed just 1 run, 2 hits, while striking out 11 in just 6 innings of work. Gibson, you look at him, or for Minnesota tonight, they lost last night, Dave, and you commented right before we went on break. They were 11-2 this year off of a loss. This will be they've never lost 3 games in a row so far this season. Going to go ahead and look at them to bounce back. Minnesota against right-handed starters this year, 23-11. And if you're looking at the total, Gibson, when he's a home favorite of minus 150 or less, 11-2 to the over the last 3 seasons, and the average runs scored in those games, Dave, how about 12.1? Look into the over in this one in Minnesota.
We have a pros versus Joes matchup in the NHL tonight. And I stayed out of the game. I did everything but pull the trigger on betting Carolina tonight. They've been really good at home. You know you're going to get a big effort with that crowd going insane. And the team's down 0-2, so they've got to come out and play well. I think you make a good case for the Hurricanes here, but boy, the Bruins are hot. They've won 5 straight games. Their offense is really rolling right now. And I'm a little concerned about the Carolina goaltending. So I stayed out of the game. I can tell you this, the public loves the Bruins in this game. The sharp money is showing up on the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll get more information on that from Jeff Sherman momentarily. But if you like playing those pros versus Joes games, you got one here.
Yeah, and it's the season for Carolina. We hate to use that cliche, but it is. I mean, you're down 2-0. You got to win this one. And they were in this exact same spot against Washington, and they were able to come back and win that series. Dave, Carolina is 10-1 at home when the total was 5.5 this season. Also, they're 12-5 this season when they're revenging a blowout loss of 3 goals or more. Those are pretty potent numbers. And then if you want to look at that total of 5.5, and I know I got burned last night when it was sitting 3-2 late and got that goal late to send it over the total. But Carolina, 13-1 to the under in home games off of 2 or more consecutive road losses the last 2 seasons. I'm on Carolina, and you talk about Boston and how good they've played, Dave. They are playing the best of the Final Four teams. And, Dave, do you realize they've had 21 different players register a point in the playoffs this year?
They've got a great first line, and when the other lines are also contributing, they are a really dangerous hockey team. More on that in a little bit as we bring Jeff Sherman in. Follow Jeff on Twitter at Golf Odds. He is as good as it gets. Part of the Superbook USA team at the Westgate and other locations throughout the land. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Excellent. How's it going, guys?
Good. And we're, look, I think I've made it clear I'm not a great fan of the NBA during the regular season, but now is the time when you really, the second round of the NBA playoffs was absolutely fantastic. It was tremendous. Drama galore. And now we get to the Final Four, and this is going to be fun. I know the Warriors are favored. There's no question about that. We're going to look at that first. The Blazers have nothing to lose. The Warriors don't have any depth. Maybe this series will turn out to be more exciting than some think. What's happening at the betting windows?
Well, we're seeing a lot of Portland support so far in Game 1. We've got 55% of the money and 58% of the tickets on the Trailblazers. We opened this game 8. We're down to 7.5 on Golden State. So the public is going with Portland, and I think they faded Golden State when they played at Houston without Durant, and I think initially they're going to do the same thing in this series.
Well, we're going to break down the game and the series in a little bit. Let's just first check on the number. As far as the Raptors and Bucks are concerned, they get started tomorrow night. What's happening with the game in the series?
Yeah, we opened the Bucks minus 6.5 in Game 1 against Toronto. That's down to 6. And the series price, we opened the Bucks minus 330 with Toronto plus 260. We're currently sitting at Milwaukee minus 300 and Toronto plus 240. So initially some Toronto support is showing up.
Of the 4 teams left, Jeff, do you have any which would be the worst result and the best result for the house?